Hello everyone, welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination. My name is Caitlin, and today we're going to be diving into each of these piles to look into the energy, insights, and guidance on their way in for you over these next 2 weeks. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Alright, so welcome back my beautiful kindred spirits and anyone new who may be joining us here today, as we are going to be looking into, as I mentioned, your next 2 weeks. You guys know the drill if you've been here for a while, but if not, and you might be new, we're going to be looking into internal, external influences, guidance. We're going to look into different charm messages, as well as several different oracle decks and things. So there's a lot to play around with, but I'm going to try to keep these pretty simple as well. And if you're interested as we move through the piles, definitely feel free to subscribe to this space as I put out new videos every single Monday. So with that in mind, I will also let you know if you're interested in, at the end of this reading, or you want to look even further into a specific topic or question that you're working through right now, then definitely feel free to check out my snail mail readings below, as I only have a few left for September. And you can also check out the Mabon spell and ritual paper that I have out right now. Those are very timely. I still have a few sets left, and I would love to send one to you before the autumn equinox, which is all about harvesting, gratitude, balance, as the sun and moon come into equal balance. So if you're interested in those witchy sort of things, then you can check out all of that out down below. I'm also going to be checking, or rather showcasing, a few different ways that you can utilize the paper over on my Instagram too. So if you were even just curious, you can check out all of that out down below too. So with that all said, let's go ahead and look at each of the piles. So for each of them, I decided to do specific numbers. I was feeling really called to number messages, especially this week. So if you work with angel numbers or just in general numerology, then you can utilize that. Otherwise, I also have a different affirmation from my handmade little oracle that you can check out too. So for pile number 1, we have the number 6 and 3, so either 36, 63, them individually. And then we also have, you already know, as I drop them, you already know the answer. So that is pile number 1. Then here for pile number 2, I'm going to try not to drop them this time. We have the number 2 and 11. So 2011 came through for me, or 2011. You also could have 11 and 2 the other way, but those are your numbers. We also have you are manifesting. So those are for pile number 2. And then here for pile number 3, we have the number 7 and 5. So 75, 57, 7 and 5. And then we have 2 sides to every coin. So those are your messages here for group 3. So as always, before we start heading into your piles and before you start checking out the timestamps, I'd just like to give you a moment here to really connect with your piles, connect with your intuition, and decide which one or which ones are best for you. So let's go ahead and take that deep cleansing breath here now. So as always, there's no right or wrong way to choose your piles. You can choose all 3, 2 of them, 1 of them. You can flip-flop between them. All of the timestamps will be down below in the description, as well as within the chapter marks of this video. And while you're down there, you can also check out, like I mentioned, all the different offerings that I provide if you're interested, and the Instagram community that I have. I'm on there all the time, and I love communicating with so many of you, so feel free to join in over there too. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and get started with pile number 1. Hello group 1, if you decide to choose the number 63, 36, 3, or 6, and the affirmation of you already know the answer, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set everything down for you. I'm going to put this down here so you can see it. There's definitely an intuitive message already coming through with the idea of you already knowing the answer. But we'll see what that answer is, or maybe it's just about you seeking clarity. We will be using the charms, the affirmations. We also have a couple different oracle decks, which I'll have all of this listed in the description down below. And the deck today is the Line Strider Tarot. It was really calling to me. There's just like, usually I don't get a very gentle feeling from this deck. It's usually a bit more kind of like stabby, if that makes sense. Like the messages can sometimes feel a little more intense for me personally, but for whatever reason it feels like it's flowing today, so I just went with it. So we're gonna see what comes through for you for these next 2 weeks. So as always, feel free to get settled, get comfortable, grab something to enjoy, like some water, some tea, grab a snack, get cozy with this, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. So feel free to send your energy in through time and space, and we're going to see. So group 1, what do you have coming in here, group 1, for your next 2 weeks? What is coming through for group 2 for the next 2 weeks? Or sorry, group 1. The number 2 is in my head. For group 1 here, for the next 2 weeks. Alright, so first off we have the 5 of Cups, starting in hot. There is still like this gentle feeling from this card though. Like I said, this deck is still giving me that. But this card usually does talk about a bit of a loss or a grief that you might be moving through at this time over these next 2 weeks. It doesn't have to be something massive or really big and earth-shattering, but it can just be small losses, small things that you might have felt like, didn't go right, or plans changed, or there's just like, it felt like something tipped over where it was meant to stand. So we're going to see what that is about here with some more context, but we have the 5 of Cups showing up here first. Let's see a little bit more. So group 1, the next 2 weeks, what else is coming through for you energetically over the next 2 weeks? Okay, so we have the Fool. I'm also feeling this card, and the 8 of Cups. Very different energies for sure, and they both are showcasing like figures sort of walking away. Like one is kind of walking towards this loss, and the other is sort of kind of catapulting away from it. So I'm going to see how that comes through, but like I said, we have the Fool showing up here, the number 0, and the 8 of Cups. The 8 of Cups usually does also have to talk about kind of needing to lose something or walk away from something, but it's usually on your own terms. So it's like if you have a certain relationship in your life you need to walk away from, or something big like that over the next 2 weeks. But it could also be, like I said, I almost am feeling like this need to walk towards the loss instead of like kind of avoiding it. Even the 5 of Cups owl here is just sort of almost looking away from it. Like they don't want to look at that things haven't gone right or didn't go right. Like they're kind of looking away, kind of deflecting almost. And then even the Fool over here is sort of running away from it or trying to flee from it. Where the 8 of Cups is showcasing sort of this return back to center, almost like reevaluating why there was a bit of a loss there in the first place. So it could be just that you're maybe working through a bit of grief from something that's happened over the last few weeks, or is just kind of resurfaced. We do have these little papers here, so it does make me think of like something that maybe you read that reminded you of something from the past that's resurfacing. Or it could also be just like what you're holding onto, that you forgot how like heavy it is, what you're holding onto, and that's kind of come back as well. But a loss can come in a lot of different ways, right? It's usually things that it could be like a loss in your job, like you lost out on a job offer, or maybe you lost out on a new path that you were going to set out on. Maybe you lost out on a specific like thing you were trying to win or buy or receive from someone. Lost out on time with someone. It could be all sorts of things, right? So just reflect on that and see where that loss is, and are you walking away or even fleeing this loss right now? Or do you want to directly look at it and be like, okay, there are still things that I can do. There's still ways of sort of reevaluating the situation, because you still have a couple of eggs here, right? It's not all gone. What can you do to repatch the situation, rehash it, reevaluate it, reinvent it, however you need to, so that it can feel a little bit less like something you have to flee away from? And then also it can just be that like you need a bit of time to process even, then that's totally valid and okay too, if you just need to process that this even happened, and that yes, you may be aware that it's not like the end of the world, but it also might feel like you need that space, right? And I think that that's totally fine to need that space, that buffer, that grace period, that easing back into something after a loss. So see how this resonates for you, leave what doesn't, and we're going to go ahead and look at your next couple of cards. So with these 2-week readings, I love to do a card over here showcasing a external influence on its way in over the next 2 weeks and an internal influence. So the external are usually things outside of your control. So these are other people's feelings, behaviors, society at large, bigger picture things, those sorts of things. And then over on the inner side of this, it's the things that you can control. So your behaviors, your actions, your time, that kind of stuff, and the way you process things. So let's go ahead and look first at your external influence. So feel free, like I said, to send your energy in. We'll look first into what is externally influencing this situation and maybe why this loss has shown up in your reading. The Fool also can talk about not only like running away, although that's what I kind of got, like this feeling of not even running away, fleeing. It's a decision, right? You can do whichever side feels right for you. But it also can talk about like this innocence and also this feeling of like something new still on the horizon that you might be running towards as well. So it could also be a jump start or a leap of faith that just came through as well. Let's see, though, that external influence. Group 1 over the next 2 weeks, an external influence on its way in over the next 2 weeks, group 1. Okay. So you have the 7 of paper, the cover, protection, beauty, and wholeness. So keeping to that idea of loss and everything, there is this feeling like I'm almost feeling like missing pages, like someone ripped out missing pages, and there's a loss of information, even that you don't have all of the information, like someone hasn't given you all of the information. We had those papers over here that I pointed out earlier. Those just feel really important for some reason. Like there's maybe a lost task, even like something, like I said, on a smaller scale that you've forgotten that maybe impacts your situation. So maybe over these next 2 weeks as well, just in general, like I said, this is sort of outside of your control, but it can also be that like being aware of it could be useful to you, that maybe someone around you is kind of forgotten something that you might need to remind them about or come back to, and it's resurfacing. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, the 7 of paper, 7s also can showcase introspection. I also got this feeling of like the 7 of swords again, so missing information. So there might be someone withholding information from you, not necessarily purposefully, but it just could be, like I said, they forgot to tell you, they forgot to let you know, something like that, a loss in communication there. So make sure to really clarify with people, really ask how they're feeling, what they need, re-looking through your schedules, those sorts of things. That could be really useful because it could be really influencing and impacting this situation as well. So that's what I'm getting over here. But let's go ahead and look at your internal influences. So these are the things you can control, or are within your power to control. So, flew right on out. It knew exactly what was up. So we're going to see what that is. Okay. Interesting. I just wanted to point this out. I had the mirror on the bottom here, and I just noticed it as I was setting it down. There's also a mirror on here too, which is reminding me again more of that introspective message. So maybe it's also making sure to look in the mirror and make sure it's not like a past version of you that forgot something as well. But let's go ahead and see, because it's not necessarily something that's still in your power. But let's see what you have. So we have the 2 of ink, medium, balance, purpose, and setting. So this usually talks about the medium inside ink that makes it so it can flow. It's not just pigment, right? It's what all of the ingredients, the water, the oils, those sorts of things, to actually make it flow on paper. And so the point of this too, and I felt really called to the idea of setting, is that you might have a situation right now that you're trying to make something happen. You have the pigment, you have the oils, you have all the ink. So this could be all these different things in your tool belt to make something happen, but the setting, like right now, this time and place might not be, like these next 2 weeks just might not be the right timing for it to happen or to come through properly, right? We can have the best ink in the world, but if we're putting it on like a child's craft paper, it doesn't sit. The setting isn't right for it. So it also could just be that you might have to wait out something. Information might just need to be withheld for a while so that you can announce it at the right time. Things like that. So that's something to keep in mind as well, timing wise. The Two of Ink also, it does talk about balance and purpose. So also making sure that just every action that you're taking, maybe reflecting on it a little bit longer to make sure that you are doing things that feel purposeful to you versus feeling like you're just sort of scrolling through life or moving through things without a lot of consideration. So that's also coming through. And with the setting idea too of like needing to maybe withhold or wait something out, you already know the answer, like I said, was coming through earlier for you. So it might also be just that you need to wait until it feels right as well, like intuitively, and not just based off of like facts. So let's see your final message here before we move on to your charms to get those final details. But if you are enjoying this reading so far, definitely be sure to let me know by sending in a like to this video. It really does make a difference. And also, you can let me know in the comments down below how you're feeling about it, if anything is coming through specifically for you. But let's go ahead and look at a sort of guiding message for the week, for the next 2 weeks. Just what's coming through to guide you. Okay, interesting. Yes, this is perfect. You have the mountain lion, which is kind of sassy. They have the message of stalk, and it also says, is my pursuit both honorable and focused? So this is just reminding me of that setting message again, in the idea that like you may have been taking stock of everything, trying to make sure logically that everything is in order, everything will work out if I do X, Y, and Z. But there are, with that, you already know the answer. There are variables at work that are outside of your control, that are like intuitive things that, people don't make it to the event, or they don't show up, the right things don't show up, or whatever. There's things that are outside of your control that you can't put A plus B equals C kind of situation. So it's making me think too that just taking stock of not only the logical steps, but also your intuitive steps, what feels right to you. Are you focusing on something that feels purposeful, that feels balancing for you, that has a little bit of that kind of spiritual side and logical side going in, the emotional side, to whatever it is that you're trying to achieve without it having to be at a loss. So if you're trying to avoid this loss, right, there might just be like a more innocent side that's coming through. Like you don't have all the answers, but you kind of already do, if that makes sense. Anyway, take what resonates and leave what doesn't, but there is that feeling coming through with the mountain lion. So I'm going to go ahead and pull you your final messages here from the charms. And as a reminder, you also have the numbers 6 and 3 over there, and 3 and 6. 3 usually represents creativity, 6 representing harmony and balance. 3 also can represent teamwork. So again, teamwork's coming back into balance as well, or just focusing on that. So let's see what comes through for you for the next 2 weeks, group 1. Okay, they didn't really bounce too much, so I'm not sure if they're specific to the cards, honestly, but they are right here. I feel like for whatever reason I need to pick this one back up. Okay, so I'm going to leave it where it was, but it did kickstart another one. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom you in so you can see a little bit better, although like I said, they all kind of fell to one side over here. So the things that we have showing up here on the mountain lion, around like on their nose or on their snout, so something maybe to like intuitively sniff in, is the unicorn charm. And so this can represent innocence as well, this innocent nature, or just a naivety there, or it can also represent uniqueness and kind of being a bit bold. So it might be that you need to sniff out the people who aren't really. Also, there might be, like I said, some people might be withholding information from you that might be, like I said, not intentional, but others might have an intention behind it. And if it is, that is my pursuit both honorable and focused, is there someone that you need to sniff out that's just trying to either take your unique ideas or are kind of like, it's reminding me of like when you're in a sport and someone kind of wants to fake you out or kind of like mess with your brain beforehand. It's kind of like that. Like, I feel like someone might be doing that for you, and it's kind of sniffing that behavior out. That's what I got from that. You also have over here more on that innocent side of things. What they're holding, this Fool, is like a little tiny budding flower, a very first beginnings of a flower growing, and then next to it you have a giant tree. So there is also, like I said, you might not be running away, but rather jump starting, even though something didn't work out, jump starting into something new. Like I said, it's still making sure to honor the loss, but maybe honoring the loss is just to move on too for some of you. But new growth is on its way in for sure, new branches. We also have the Thou Shall Not Kill charm, but it was upside down, which makes me think, especially with this 8, that again, it's more to do with that, like, not trying to look at this as something that just like sliced off, killed, you sliced your arm off kind of feeling, but rather that there's still opportunity for growth, even in the rubble, even in it makes me think also of like decomposing leaves. I think that tree message was still coming in for me, like the leaves that fall in the fall, they decompose and they go through this whole process to then become the fertilizer for plants later. So there is still fertilizer in your loss. There is still things to take out of that loss, and that you might be considering how that would work out for you and what that looks like. Here with the 2 of ink medium, like I said, you had a lot fall over here with balance, purpose, and setting, the idea of like ink setting on paper. You have the wishy-washy charm. So whenever I see this, it's about something that feels very wishy-washy. You're not really making a decision. You're kind of going back and forth on something. So maybe that's also that balancing energy of just kind of finally making that decision. You have the expansion charm. Because whenever I see this, it makes me think of space as ever expanding. So it's sort of that feeling too of expanding maybe even your knowledge or skills, which may give you more of that balance or purpose. And then there's the logic message showing up again, but it was upside down. So it makes me think again, maybe you need to have more of an intuitive feel versus a logical feel on the matter. So those are all of your charms and cards. I'll go ahead and zoom you out so you can see a little bit better. But those are all of your charms and your cards here today. I hope you enjoyed this reading. You got something out of it, excavated, and left behind what wasn't useful to you. And yeah, so let me know in the comments down below what was useful if you'd like. I love hearing how things went for each of you. And also you can subscribe if you haven't already, like the video, and seek out the different messages that I put out every single week on Monday by subscribing as well. And also you can check out my Instagram community down below. It's a great place to see more of the things that I get up to on a more personal level, see more of the offerings that I provide. So if you're interested in snail mail readings, or in Mabon magical spell and ritual paper, or other kinds of fun eco-friendly magic, then you can check out all of that down below as well. And I do believe that is everything. So thank you so much for joining me here today for your own growth. I really do appreciate it, and I hope that you found something useful here. And we're going to go ahead and move on to group number 2. Bye. Hello, group 2. If you've decided to choose these numbers of 2 and 11, so 2011, 211, or the opposite direction, then this is the pile for you. We also have the message of you are manifesting, so it could be something that you're currently trying to manifest, over these next 2 weeks, and we could be looking into that for you, or it could just be the numbers that are resonating, so we'll see how that works out for your specific pile. Today we're going to be using the charms as well as I mentioned, the watercolor affirmations. I'll also have all of this listed in the description down below with the different oracle decks, and the tarot deck of choice today is the Line Strider Tarot. I was mentioning in group 1 that typically when I pull this out, for whatever reason, it always is a little bit more sharp for me. Like, it's very like direct, sharp, this is the stuff you need to work on. But for whatever reason today, it really called to me to feel very gentle. So we're gonna see what comes through for you all. So the next 2 weeks, yes, okay, so feel free to get settled, get comfy, get cozy in whatever way that is for you, with a nice snuggly blanket, some cozy socks, or a nice little meal. But we're going to go ahead and get started, so feel free to send your energy in through time and space. And let's see, group 2, the next 2 weeks. What is coming in for you over these next 2 weeks? So we have the Nine of Cups showing up here right off the bat. This Nine of Cups always showcases like this like freedom feeling, and I know they're not actually holding a key, but I always see like a little key showing up here with this cat, like they found a way to get out of here. So there might have been something that's been kind of caging you off or holding you back in some way, but you're feeling kind of confident, a little like independent, and you're feeling yourself, basically is what I'm saying. So we're gonna see how that shows up with the rest of your stuff and how that might be reflecting either side. So the next 2 weeks, group 2 here, the next 2 weeks, what's showing up for group 2 over the next 2 weeks? What do you see, group 2? Okay, so we've got a couple more here. We also have both the Queen of Cups and the Four of Swords. So, okay, definitely differing energies than I was expecting, but I'm here for it. So we have the Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups showcases sort of that same energy. I'm feeling really called to less of like the traditional feelings today and more like the imagery. So we're going to explore this a little bit. So we have a little fish in a jar that's kind of closed off. And the fish doesn't necessarily feel upset about it. I feel like it's just sort of like floundering around, doing their thing, thinking they're still in a giant ocean, even though they're in this tiny little tank. But the Nine of Cups showcases this feeling of like realizing you might have felt a little closed off and coming out the other end. So it could be just over these next 2 weeks, you're really exploring what's been kind of closing you off, how you might be expanding your boundaries a little bit, or like, it makes me think if you've only ever lived in like 9 blocks, like you're moving 10 blocks out, right? You're expanding just a little bit more and seeking out either more independence or just seeking out something new on the horizon for you. But then we also have the Four of Swords, which does showcase that what you might be seeking out is more from an inward journey than an outward. So it's not that you have to necessarily seek out new places and new people and go to concerts and do these things and travel the world to feel like you have explored and seeked out freedom and independence. But there could be something that's happening on the inside of you that you're starting to navigate and understand more about yourself. So expanding from an inward point of view versus an external point of view. So that's what I'm getting here from the Four of Swords, that you might be sort of taking some time to better understand yourself. So taking some time to like have solo dates, where you just sort of watch a movie or journal or take some time to have fun with a creative hobby or skill that you want to explore. Something that's more specific and about you than it is about external validation or from an external place. Which is why I said, like, with the Queen of Cups, it almost felt like they were okay with being like this little fish here. They were okay. They felt like they were in a giant ocean, even though they were kind of in this small bubble, because inwardly it feels really expansive. So you don't need a ton of stuff happening outwardly to feel fulfilled, because that fulfillment's coming from the inside. So I think you're going to be exploring that a little bit more, understanding that concept a little bit more over these next couple of weeks, and exploring what on the inside of you is starting to give you fulfillment that isn't coming from others, but fulfillment from the inside. which is very individualistic for everyone. For me personally, I always feel really connected to myself when I'm dancing or enjoying myself on my own with my creative hobbies and things like that, where I'm not looking for anyone to tell me this is good or I'm doing the right thing. It's just enjoying life from the fullest for myself. So that's what I'm getting here for you, just with your specific cards. But as always, we're going to expand a little bit further. So for these 2-week readings, I like to pull one card over here for your external influences over the next 2 weeks, and one for your internal influences. So what do I mean by external? External meaning the things that are outside of your control, other people's behavior, actions, feelings, society at large, bigger systemic things. And then we also have over here your internal influences, so the things that are influencing these cards and this energy that comes from within. So the actions that you are taking, the behaviors that you do, your rituals, those sorts of things. So let's look at first what's kind of outside of your control, those external influences. So over the next 2 weeks, what might be happening externally? And maybe it's even what's kind of wanting you to kind of come within. We'll see. Group 2, external influences. And as always, feel free to send your energy in through time and space. It always does make a difference. So let's see what you got here. So we have family. Interesting. So like I said, it might not be that you're wanting to see a ton of people over this next 2 weeks, or that, not that you aren't exploring other things, but that the validation and fulfillment isn't necessarily coming or is fully linked to them. So you might be hanging out with your family, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the conversations that you're having are always necessarily as fulfilling as you'd hope they'd be, or that they need to be. So it could just be that they're holding space for you to have your own time to understand and explore yourself more, or it might be vice versa. Everyone's family dynamics are different, so you can see how that might reflect in on this for you. But it does say kinship, belonging, and collaboration. So it could be not necessarily your family, it could be your co-workers, if you feel like a tight-knit family in that way, chosen family, found family, those sorts of things. So see how that resonates for you for external influences and how they might be influencing this idea of going within versus without to find fulfillment. So now we're on to your internal influences. So what's coming in internally for you? So this one I'm definitely interested in because, like I said, you're looking for that fulfillment from yourself, and feeling affirmed and validated from yourself. So let's see where that's coming in for you over the next 2 weeks for your influences here. Okay, so we have the 5 of thread, needle, pain, shock, and trauma. So the reason why you might be going within is because there's a lot to explore there. And I'm not saying you have to explore things super, super deeply if you're not ready for that, especially with the different words that I mentioned here. So obviously this is with your own boundaries. Like I said, you might be moving just a tiny bit into something just a little bit more expansive on yourself in some way, and that might be through things like journaling, art, like chaotic art, sort of cathartic activities, throwing paint at a wall, or trying to really look through something fully and more deeply, however that may be for you, but you might be influencing the situation. The reason why you might want to be going within as well is not even necessarily to understand yourself better, but it could also be like a bit of escapism that is needed at this time over these next 2 weeks by the things that might be coming up for you and needing those boundaries and safety a little bit. So if that's just reading a book or escaping into a TV show, that could be useful to you as a useful tool. A lot of people give escapism a bad name, but it's not always. There's a reason why we do the things we do, right? So it's just exploring that, maybe being more aware that you are escaping could be useful to you as well. But see how that resonates for you with the 5 of thread. 5 also representing change, a need for change, maybe from the inside. So there might be a behavior or ritual or an intention that you've been sort of stuck within or holding on to, and you're kind of releasing that. And that's what I get here with the idea of of this specific card. In terms of visually, like I said, there is this feeling of also sort of escaping with beauty, or things that make you feel more fulfilled again. Even though things might be feeling a bit pokey right now, you're still sort of working through that in a more gentle way or a more cushioned way, and that's cool too. I mean, if you're sitting on a couch that's super uncomfortable and you need a pillow, that's totally fine. So if you need a pillow to work through the things that you're working through, so that could be another person, it could be through the different tools that you have in your favor, that's totally valid and probably a good thing to expand upon. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and pull your final card here. Like I said, I wasn't feeling super called to the idea of you are manifesting, but we might find something here with this card. What you might be manifesting is maybe reevaluating what you're manifesting as well. And that might be coming through as well for you. Like your intentions might have changed. So let's see just your final message here. And also I wanted to mention before we do that as well, if you are enjoying this video so far, definitely be sure to give this video a like. It really does help the channel and lets me know that you found something useful within this reading. But yeah, we're going to do this and then we'll do your charms. Okay, so we have strut. Am I carrying myself with love? So that is where I was getting that cat energy of like, you know how cats are just very independent. They will do what they want. If they want to knock over everything on every shelf, they will do so. So there is this feeling too of like carrying yourself with love, and maybe also giving yourself more space and sort of letting other people in your family who even if they super care for you and want to be in your space because they love you, maybe you just need a little bit more space away from them to understand yourself a little bit more, or carry yourself with more love, in the idea that you're giving yourself the time and energy to look after yourself, and that is a valid thing to need and want and to explore. So we have strut here with killdeer, which is the type of bird, and like I said, it says, am I carrying myself with love? We also have the sunshine here showing up for me, which is the idea of the sun card coming in, which is a lot to do with like exploration, through new ideas coming through, clarity as well. So there could be just something that felt a bit fuzzy before too, that's becoming more clear, and you need to carry yourself with a little bit more love and tenderness even throughout that process. So that's also what I'm getting here from your final card, but we are going to move on to your charms. So feel free, as always, to send your energy in through them, and we will seek out the last little messages here. So, group 2, next 2 weeks. Okay, so let's see here. I'll go ahead and zoom you in as always so you can see a little bit more. Not too many charms actually. We did have this one fall out. It kind of just sort of rolled off. So take it as it resonates if you'd like. It usually does showcase more of that feeling, like again, of being sort of caged in, or just a lot is happening within that space. But like I said, it kind of rolled off of these 2 cards. So I feel like there might be people in your family right now that are giving you the space to sort of not let this overfill and just sort of burst, because there's too much happening within yourself right now that you're like feeling overwhelmed. There's a lot of tasks, there's a lot of things you need to do. You need to explore and carry yourself with more love and tenderness, and it might be just that there are people in your life that are giving you that tenderness, giving you that space, right, holding more space for you. So that's what I'm getting from this specific one, and maybe that's why it rolled off, is the idea that like people are kind of giving you the space and just letting that roll right off versus having it become something much bigger, sort of in a preventative way. We also have the 2 paths showing up here. This is the path less traveled by. So it could be that you're also maybe feeling a bit of peer pressure to follow specific paths that other people have set for you. So there could be people in your life that are like I said, holding space, and then you might have people in your life where you maybe are feeling a bit of like fear of missing out. They're going to all these things, they're doing things externally to find that validation, to find that fulfillment, find that excitement in life, and maybe you're doing some of that inner work and you might have to miss out on some stuff over the week, and maybe you feel a bit of that guilt or that disconnect. But that, I think it's really important to remind yourself of why you're taking this break, or why you might be needing to have a little bit more space and tenderness over yourself, and that even though it may be the path less traveled, it's still a path worth traveling, especially since here on the Four of Swords, which, like I said, is about rest. And if you got nothing from this, if you're not feeling necessarily this specific card, it could just, like I said, just mean that you need to like explore a bit more of yourself from the inner space, which could be through your dreams or through actually taking rest and time to sleep, or to take care of yourself, giving yourself a shower, really giving yourself a bit of a pamper session, things like that. That's totally good too. But what we did have here on the Four of Swords is more of that path less traveled, because if you've ever played chess, the knight is one of the few that can sidestep other players. So most of them can only go diagonal or only forward. They're kind of one set path, where the knight here can move around things. So again, more of that escapism, maybe moving around the subject, tiptoeing around it in some way, or just needing a little bit of space, and that's what's showing up here. And what I find also interesting is for your final charm, here underneath the heart, you actually got another heart, and that heart is even expanding for yourself. So I really like seeing that for you, to carry yourself with more love and more tenderness by like expanding on the love that you give, and not sort of holding it in. But you got the dream, imagine, believe charm, and imagining that it's possible to find more love for yourself, more tenderness for yourself, especially if you're the type of person that sort of puts that off, puts rest off, puts off the idea that you need these things, or puts your needs last. This is the week to put your needs first. So that's what I'm getting here from all of your cards here, and I'll go ahead and zoom you out so you can see a little bit better. Thank you so much for joining me here today as we looked through these messages for your next 2 weeks. Like I mentioned earlier, if you want to let me know in the comments down below, or by liking this video, how you found this reading, I would really appreciate it. I love hearing the different feedback and seeking out the messages that are really hitting for everyone. It's cool to see the collective messages that come through as well. So feel free to let me know down below. And also, if you would like to, feel free to subscribe, as I put out new videos every single Monday for all sorts of different types of readings. And if you have ideas for different readings or things you'd like to see outside of readings, like my deck collection or the different charms that I have. I know many people have mentioned wanting to see a more expansive view of my charms. I would love to hear your thoughts down below. And if you'd like, you can also check out the Kindred tip jar down below. It's a great way to support this space, to get new decks and supplies and things like that. I have a few on the way, so I'm very excited for those. You'll be seeing them on the channel very soon. But also, if you want to check out the different ways you can not only support this channel, but also a way to kind of support you back, is the snail mail readings that I do. But I also have Mabon spell and ritual paper out right now. There's still several sets, and I want to be able to make sure they get out to you by Mabon or by the equinox. So definitely let me know if you're interested in those so you can snag one up. I'm going to be putting up a lot of fun things on my Instagram and my Instagram community over the next couple of days, so you can seek out the different ways you can utilize this magic in your life. It's a very potent paper. I've been using it myself and I've already been noticing a lot of big changes, so feel free to check all of that out down below in the description. And before I waffle on too much here at the end, just a note of appreciation. Thanks for being here, and I'm very grateful of your presence on this channel. So let's go ahead and move on to pile number 3. Bye. Hello group 3, if you've decided to choose the number 75 or 57, then this is the pile for you, alongside your message here of 2 sides to every coin. So that's what we have showing up here already for you. We're going to see if this specific message continues to come through within the rest of your reading with the 2 sides to every coin. message and the idea of maybe balance, something coming back into balance, something balancing back out, a reciprocation of words or communication. We're going to see, but we're going to be doing that through the charms, which I'll be doing at the end to cast directly onto the cards. We have the affirmations already out. We're also going to be using 2 different oracle decks, which I'll have listed with everything else down below in the description, and also the Line Strider Tarot, which I mentioned in the other 2 piles that this specific deck usually is like more of a shadow deck for me, or a deck that surprisingly, when I got it, I thought it wouldn't be, but for whatever reason, it just always felt like it gave me really deep messages. But for whatever reason today, it felt like it was telling me, like, let's do some really gentle yet potent messages, or really, like, it just felt like it needed to be out. So we're going to see how that resonates. So far, it's been doing a lot with these last 2 piles, so we're going to see what comes through for you. Feel free to get cozy, get comfortable, get settled in some way. I typically like to watch different readings while I'm eating a meal, so shout out to anyone who's eating a meal or doing chores right now. I feel you. But yeah, feel free to send your energy in. We'll get started. So here we go. Group 3, what do we have coming in here for your pile over the next 2 weeks? What energy is coming through the most, or most potently over the next 2 weeks to explore, to expand upon, to understand yourself better? So first off, we have the 4 of Cups. The 4 of Cups always, with this specific card, has such a mysterious element to it. It makes me think of like a mysterious opportunity on its way in for you. And when I speak of opportunities, it doesn't always have to be something that is so tangible, like an opportunity to buy something, an opportunity to physically hold something, an opportunity to get a bigger career move, or whatever it is, something that feels really tangible, something you could write in a planner that makes sense. Sometimes opportunities are so subtle, we don't realize them until we've like passed them by, or until someone mentions it to us that like we took that up and it was like, oh yeah, I didn't realize that. So this 4 of Cups is giving me that mysterious energy, that there's something like right in front of your face, or just so subtle of an opportunity in your path, that you might not even notice that you're either one, taking it on, or that it is impacting you in some way, whether that's because you missed it, whether that's because you didn't notice it, however it may be. Let's see what else is coming through with the cards though, and that'll give us a little bit more information. So let's see that next card. So feel free to send your energy in through time and space. And let's see, group 3, the next 2 weeks, what major energies are shifting and moving this opportunity forward for you? So we have the 3 of Pentacles. The 3 of Pentacles usually talks about collaboration, either with others or with different skills, something collaborating and working together, a merging of ideas either in your mind or with other minds around you, like a hive mind. So here we are, like I said, with the 3. There is like these little crows here working together to build something. And there's like these branches that are showing up here too, which makes me think that you might be branching off towards something that is that new opportunity, but it's such a subtle branch that maybe you didn't notice that you had branched off until you're like in hindsight looking back. So there might be a bit of reflection and introspection that you might not even notice this until the very end of these next 2 weeks, and you're like, I don't even know what's happening. That never showed up for me. And then 2 weeks later, you're going to be like, oh, okay. So that's what I'm getting here with this 3 of Pentacles and the 4 of Cups together, that you're branching off on a new idea or a rehashed or reinvented idea in your brain so subtly you didn't realize it. So we'll see. I also felt really called to the word merge. So again, like a merging of cars. Sometimes it's just very rhythmic. So let's see that final card though, to give us a little bit more context here. All right, so we have the Sun. The Sun showcases clarity. So where we have all this mystery, we also have clarity right beside it. And there's also feeling called to this Knight of Swords as well, so I'm going to pull that out, as it was on the top of the deck next to the Sun. But yeah, there's this feeling of, with the Sun, typically, like, if you think of full sunshine, right, there are no shadows. There's nothing mysterious about anything. Everything is fully seen, where we get that more illusionary feeling or disillusionment when it comes to the moon, because the moon doesn't show all the details. We tend to see things in the dark that are much bigger than they would be in the light. So like I said, it's so sneaky and subtle because it's happening during, like, the light of day. Like, it's happening during a very mundane, everyday, fully clarified moment. So I don't think this new opportunity is something that is going to be really mind-blowing when you first have it, but I do think it's going to be building up something that could be really impactful down the line. And I've mentioned this before. It's like a Benjamin Button moment. I don't know if you guys have watched Benjamin Button, but there's this specific scene where a whole bunch of chain of events that are outside of our control happen in the background that make something happen in the end. So this guy wakes up late, so he isn't the cab driver for the lady who needs to get to the bank, who then does this. And all of those little actions outside of your control somehow impact this. And so I'm thinking that there's a chain of events that are on its way right now, building towards something for you over these next 2 weeks that is so subtle you're not going to notice it in the light of day, but I think you're going to follow the path anyway. Like, I think you're just on that path anyway, or maybe you've already made this branch and that this is you now noticing the shift. The Knight of Swords showcases a lot of very impulsive energy. The Knight of Swords can be very impulsive, and not necessarily always in a bad way, but they do not always think before they act. They just act. They just move like water and run through it. So I think right now as well, the reason why maybe you're not seeing it is because things are moving really quickly around you. Like, you might just have a lot of things happening very quickly that you don't notice that shift in you or that branching, and this might be part of that cause. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and see the next few cards, because I want to see, again, if there's more context to this. It's so mysterious. I want to see more. So we're going to see the next card as the external influence, and then an internal influence card. So your external influence talks on the next 2 weeks. What is influencing the situation that is external to you? So other people's thoughts, feelings, society as a whole, systemic things, systems outside of your control. And then we have internal influences. So how are you influencing it through your behavior, your thoughts, how your feelings influence this? So let's go ahead and see, first off, your external influences, the things that are externally influencing this. Okay. So we have the Six of Ink, calligraphy, fluidity, skill, and patience. So if it isn't feeling mysterious to you, for some of you, maybe it isn't mysterious. If you've been going through this and been kind of confused about that, it might also be just that branching that's happening is something that you have to be very patient about. It's making me think of a tree as well. It's so subtle when a tree grows a new branch that we don't notice it until many years later. So again, that hindsight message, that merging message, but also the idea that if you are aware of it, it is very slow going. You have to watch it grow just a tiny bit out of the tree and then become much bigger, and it's just looks like a little leaf at first, but could grow this massive branch. So that's what I'm seeing here from this sort of card, and the idea that other people might be noticing it within you too, this branching out within you, and also the idea that it might be relating to a skill. So you might be having opportunities that are influencing this, like maybe you're going to go to a class where you get to learn a new skill, or maybe you watched a YouTube video just on a whim one night, and this now can like turn your whole life around and head towards a new branch. It could be something really big or really, really subtle, like I said. But like calligraphy, sometimes it takes a minute to read it, right? Like if you write something in cursive, it takes longer to read it if it's in someone else's cursive, because you're not used to it. It's a bit foreign. And if this is an external influence, something outside of your control, someone else writing that note to you in calligraphy or in that way, you might be not immediate to notice those things like other people are noticing it within you. So you might be getting advice or ideas from them or maybe that's why you're feeling so impulsive to go, 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 but life is making you kind of have to patiently wait it out, which reminds me a bit of group 1. So if you're not feeling fully on board here, definitely check out group 1. So we're going to see your internal influence now. So what is internally influencing this? And feel free to send your energy in. Internal influence. Okay. All right, so you have the Companion, and this says partnership, support, and reliability. And there's a little cooking book, which makes me think again, like this idea of like going to a class, like maybe you're learning how to cook, or it doesn't have to be that specific, but the point is you're learning a new skill, possibly from mentorship with someone. So it might be that you are seeking out mentorship in some way for a new skill that you're learning that might be influencing this new branch out, because you were like, wow, I never knew how to do this, or I never thought I could do this, and that like completely changed your directory in some way. So that's what I'm getting here from Companion. Companion also does talk about the idea of like quality time too, and that quality time could be really useful to you as well with this intense energy, just as an idea in general. You did have a lot to do with that like partnership, teamwork energy. And so maybe that patience is coming in because other people are also, going on their own paths and stuff. And when you merge that together, it's kind of causing you to have to slow down a little bit, which as a person who loves to hyperfixate on things, I understand slowing down sometimes when you're really in it can be a bit of a friction, but we'll see how it resonates with your other cards here. So we're going to go ahead and pull your final card and seek out its message as well as the charms here to finish off your reading. But if you have been enjoying this so far, if you've found different bits of information that were really useful to you, definitely be sure to give this video a like, or let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially with like the numbers and stuff and seeing how those resonated for you. Also, if you ever have ideas for different readings or types of videos you'd like to see in the future, definitely let me know that in the comments down below too, because these are for you, so I want to make them as useful and as helpful as possible. So keeping that two sides to every coin, keeping the companionship, the idea of that impulsive yet mysterious message, we're going to see your final card. So group 3, what do you have coming in here, group 3? So we have what energizes me, play. So with that two sides to every coin, and it kind of reminded me again, like some people in your life might be slowing down right now while you're speeding up. So this coyote makes me feel like you are speeding up, or you're wanting to go on a lone wolf kind of moment or a lone coyote kind of moment and do your own thing. And you keep being pulled back into other people's needs or wants, this teamwork kind of energy. And maybe what you're branching off on, or the idea to want to branch off, is coming from something within you wanting to sort of go on an independent journey that is apart from them. So you can play and feel energized and to experiment without others possibly in that path. So if you got if you have different things and skills that you want to start exploring on solely, this is your hint to definitely do that over these next 2 weeks. Because like I said, you got the coyote, which is very playful. They like to yip and howl and do their whole little thing, and they can be really funny, even as dangerous as they can be to like humans and things. They can also be really playful and funny with their own. So that's what I have showing up for you with your cards, but let's finish off here with your charms. So feel free as always to send your energy in through time and space, and we'll start looking for you, group 3, the next 2 weeks. Okay, we've got a few here. So we're going to see what we have. So the things that are showing up here. All right, let's start over on this side and work our way across. So on the Six of Ink with that calligraphy message of fluidity, skill, and patience, and kind of even falling more towards the fluidity side, this idea of like things moving in between reminds me of plasma in a way. We have the heavy charm. So this charm is metal and it's quite heavy. It moves it's very dense. So things aren't maybe moving in a very fluid sense because things are very dense, very kind of constricted or pulled into one another, very heavy. So to get some things start moving, to get the gears moving, you might need to like oil some stuff up. So maybe it's just communicating to others your needs and your wants at this time, especially if that's about wanting to go on a solo thing or wanting to do something like that. Maybe over these next 2 weeks, you're going to come to those realizations to be able to communicate what you need right now so that you can have more fluidity in your life as well. Other things that I thought was interesting is on play. You have the cycle charm, but for whatever reason, it honestly just felt like a highlight, like someone drew a circle and was like, hey, look at this. We got a highlight here on the ear of the coyote. So it's also something that sounds like needing to listen to play and to experiment. So it could also be that you're just needing to listen to yourself a little bit further. So that's about taking some time to yourself to be able to do that and actually listen to your needs and listen to what you need to be able to play and explore. So that's what I was getting here, but also it can be just to be more of a listener in a conversation than trying to talk over others, which this card can showcase a lot of that because you can be very quick-witted and stuff. Also on the play, we have the idea of the mirror showing up here, and it's kind of like you're not looking in the mirror. You don't want to over-inspect things, you know, when you look in the mirror and you're like, I have this little zit over here and I have a wrinkle over there and look at this and I look tired today and blah blah blah, and we like overanalyze everything sometimes when we look in the mirror. And this is about putting the mirror down for a bit on like the things that you're wanting to play and experiment within, and instead of trying to control the process, just seeing what happens, seeing how the skill unfolds itself. And also the other things that you have over here, you have a little clump showing up here with the clarity part of this. So I'm very interested to see what energizes me, showcases the idea of thou shall not steal. So this just means to make sure that you're coming up with your own original ideas. So yes, we can be inspired by others. We can even, like as an artist myself, sometimes, you know, I will look up an artist and I'll be super inspired and I will sometimes copy their work, but that will only ever be as an exercise for me. I'm not necessarily stealing their work to sell or to use in some way, but rather to explore and understand the artist more. So you could do it in that way when it comes to learning a new skill, but to then branch out from there, right, and start down a new path that's specifically your own or only inspired by that original artist or that original mentor that was teaching you that new skill. So that is the thou shalt not steal charm, but we also have the solid heart, which showcases that you definitely have this excitement for the thing that you're doing, or you're definitely feeling energized by it, because the solid heart means that it's not like cracked, it's not a heart that's been stabbed or anything like that. It's just solid, it's doing its thing, it's pumping and it's doing all this stuff. So it's usually a very healthy heart or a healthy heart space. And then you have a whole little cluster, like a little stew that's showing up here on the twisted charm. This also is the two brothers charm, so it can be showcasing something possibly to do with a brother, giving you this clarity message. But in general, it represents illusions, which I can't really showcase the illusion here too much. But so what is feeling like an illusion, you know, in the light of the day, is being showcased by the impulsivity of your actions and behaviors at the moment, or a really quick-witted communication. You also have the wishy-washy charm, as this is a washer, and then you have the freedom charm of independence. So again, you're just ready to kind of maybe go on your own, but you're not really sure how to maybe do that, and that's maybe why it feels like an illusion to you. But it is showing up that you might be branching down a more independent path with an independent skill over these next 2 weeks. So your reading definitely went a billion different ways, I feel like, in comparison to like the last two piles, which had very direct messages. So take what resonates and leave what doesn't. If it was just the mysterious element, then take that. If it was the companionship message of that balancing there, then take that. Whatever it may be, or a little bit of everything. You might just have some salt and pepper and some paprika too. So see what comes through for you. And I hope that this reading was useful and helpful to you in some way. I really do. I appreciate your presence on this channel as well. And any feedback that you let me know in the comments down below. Constructive feedback is welcome. And also, feel free to like this video if you found it useful. And if you'd like to be a part of this community even further of kindred spirits as I put out these new videos every single Monday, then feel free to subscribe or hit the notification bell to stay updated of the videos that I continue to put out so you don't miss out on them. I also try to put it out on my community tab every once in a while to remind you of the things that are coming out, so you can check that out as well. But if you'd like to support this space even further to help get new decks and supplies and to uplift these readings, to bring in new fun little elements, which I definitely have a few on the way here soon, so stay tuned, then definitely check out the Kindred tip jar. It goes a long ways, and I really do appreciate anything sent in through there. Truly, thank you. Also, if you want to check out the other ways you can also support yourself while supporting this channel, then definitely feel free to check out my Instagram community, where I post and keep you up to date a lot with the different offerings that I offer up to you all. Right now I'm doing snail mail readings for September. These are readings that are sent to you in the mail. They're typed up on a vintage typewriter. They have this old world feeling to them, and they're very treasured and magical by those who have sent in different reviews and their own thoughts after receiving their readings. You can check all of that out down below. But you can also check out the Mabon spell and ritual paper, which is more timely. So if you're interested in Mabon, the autumn equinox, if you want to do things, different magical rituals and spells around this time in relation to gratitude, the harvest, into the idea of manifestation, prosperity, then this is the time to jump on that, so I can make sure to get it to you before the equinox. So definitely check that all out down below, and all of the details on that. It's very eco-witchcraft, so you can see the different ways that I utilize the paper on my Instagram as well. So I think that is everything. I always get so long-winded at the end of these things, but I want to remind you of all the different cool things that you can check out if you're interested. And yeah, I hope that you found this useful and that you go about your day with a little bit more clarity, even within the mystery. And I wish you the best in all of these branching offs, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.